Welcome, everybody. It's the Board of Selectmen's meeting. It is Tuesday, April 4th, 2017. If we could all please rise and pledge our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. As I said, this is the Board of Selectmen's meeting for Tuesday, April 4th, 2017. I will quickly review the agenda. We have multiple meeting minutes to approve. At 6:05, we have a continuation of a Class 2 public hearing. Under 4.0 recognition, I believe we have one item.
Two.
Okay. 5.0, we have the manager's report. Under 6.0, the discussion items, we will have the Historical Commission with us this evening to talk about proposed signage, historical district signage within the town. 6.2, we'll be motioning some approval of some bonuses. 6.3, we will be considering appointments and resignations. I think we have quite a few of those, quite a few resignations, as well as quite a few appointments, which is always good. 6.4, we'll be discussing the awarding of the Fisk Mill replacement, the bridge project. 6.5, we will discuss, I will seek the opinion of the conversation with the town manager to discuss the health plan renewal options. And under 6.6, we'll review a draft of the May 4th, 2017 annual town meeting warrant. We have meeting topic look-aheads that we'll discuss, and then under new business, I think we might have a couple of items to talk about under new business. And then after public comment, we will go into executive session under two issues. First will be under Mass General Law, Chapter 3214, Section 1B, and Mass General Law, Chapter 4, Section 7, Clause 220, 26C, to discuss financial assistance to a resident in need. And then we will adjourn out of that executive session to go into another executive session under Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section number 21, Exception number 6, to consider the purchase of real estate if the chair so declares that open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the litigating position of the public body. We will adjourn out of that executive session for purposes to go into an open session for purposes of adjournment only. Have I missed anything? Okay. So with that said, I will entertain motions for, motions to approve the minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve the regular session minutes from February 21st, 27th, March 2nd, March 7th, and March 21st as written.
I'll second that motion.
Please show that as unanimous action of the board.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we accept the executive session minutes as written for March 7th and March 21st.
Second that motion.
And please show that as unanimous action of the board. Okay, it's not quite 6:05 yet, but we have posted for a Class 2 hearing. So with that said, I'll turn it over to Selectman Fleming for under recognition, for a comment under recognition.
Yes, normally recognition is for good news, and I'm sorry to report that we've lost a very good friend of the town of Upton, former select woman and FinCom member Joan Shanahan passed away, I believe, Sunday. I had the pleasure of serving with Joan for a number of terms, and I know her for the person she was. She was a very giving woman. She was involved in everything that had to do with charity in this town. She was very active with the Bloomer Girls, and she was always the first one out there to help somebody in need. I remember her working blood drives. I remember when the Council on Aging was first started, and she and Gail Heald were two of the drivers, and I'm going back 30 years ago. And with their assistance, they put the COA into the town of Upton. Believe it or not, the line item that year was $10 to get it started. But Joan was one of the drivers behind that. And the whole time I knew her, Joan was always giving to other people. And it is a true loss to this town. We're all going to miss her a lot because the void that she's going to leave is going to be significant. There is a service Thursday morning at 10 o'clock at United Parish to honor this woman who gave so much to this town. And it's my understanding the public is invited to attend, and there is a reception after that. So to the family, deepest sympathies on behalf of the town. And again, a real loss to this community. It's a sad day. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Okay, with that said, it is 6:05. I will officially reopen the public hearing. This public hearing was opened on January 3rd, 2017, and has been recessed and reopened at other meetings and then deferred for multiple reasons. But for clarification, I will read the notice which I read at that time at the January 3rd, 2017 meeting. Please be advised that under the provisions of Chapter 140 of the Mass General Laws, the Board of Selectmen will be reviewing the application of Arnie T. Goulet, owner Upton Truck and Auto, Inc., requesting to alter a Class II license at 103 Milford Street, Suite C, by increasing the number of cars to be repaired to a sellable condition that may be parked outside his garage from 20 to 40. The board will review this application and consider it at that time was on Tuesday, January 3rd, 2017 at 6:05. So the meeting was officially opened at that time and recessed accordingly. So, Mr. Goulet, please step forward. Please introduce yourselves.
Good evening. My name is Arnie Goulet, owner of Upton Truck and Auto.
Okay.
My name is Paul Conti. I'm an attorney. I live in Upton, Massachusetts, and I'm here with the applicant today.
Okay.
I'm not sure if I said it.
I'm sorry, I didn't
Could
get
you
his
just
last
repeat your name
name.
one more time?
My name is Paul Conti, C1TE.
Thank you. Okay, so you come in front of us to increase the number of cars that is currently on your lot. Would you like to explain anything before I open up to the board?
I would. So I've been in town since 2007. Owner of Upton Truck and Auto. My first location was at 90 Main Street, and then I moved up to 103 Milford Street about 5 years ago. When I was in the center of town at 90 Main Street, I had a dealer's license to sell secondhand vehicles, 50-car license. When they moved me up to 103, the board suggested that I start off with 20, and, we can go from there and talk about increasing the number of vehicles. I've just been advised that, I've had conversations with the Upton Police, they see me doing business up there, and they just suggest that, I have the means and the location to do it, and, so I'm not so much teetering on my number of vehicles for sale, that I should increase it, just so I don't fall, ever fall into trouble with having more than what my license says. So today I'm here to try to, let's say, double it, just to get, I'm not quite going to the 50 that I originally started with. I'm just trying to get to 40 cars. Like I said, as the location up there is more than suitable to be able to withstand that kind of inventory. To just touch base on the license, the way it's worded and the way you read the dealer's license, it is a little bit confusing to myself, so hopefully maybe, if everything goes well, we can clarify. The issue that I have is I do run a general repair business out of Upton. So I cater to, I'm from Shrewsbury, Mass, so I cater to a lot of Shrewsbury, I know a lot of people in town there. So I do repair a lot of vehicles from there. And I also, I also repair a lot of vehicles for people in the town of Upton. But I feel the way it reads and the way it's worded is that my cars that are repaired has something to, or I am repairing, has something to do with the vehicles that I am selling. So it's a little bit confusing because I feel like it's being fused where I can only repair a certain amount of vehicles because of the vehicles that I have for sale. I'm here for, the Class II license, so I'm hoping to kind of sever the two because, I do, not only general repair to vehicles, brakes, tires, stuff like that, but I also do restoration. So, if a customer has a vehicle that's an older vehicle and I'm waiting for engine parts or body parts, sometimes those vehicles are, I have them for a substantial time, and those vehicles aren't always registered. So with a lot of conversations that I've had with the town, or it's basically just with the town, and I think it's the wording, is that my vehicles I'm repairing for, let's say, customers, or to get to a restored condition to be able to put out, has something to do with the vehicles that I'm buying at, like, let's say, trade-ins or cars that I go to the auction with. So I'm hoping that, you know, if it does get ironed out, that I can kind of keep the two separate, because the Class 2 dealer's license is vehicles that I have out there for sale,
Right.
which is at the front of my building, you know, out there for the public to see. They're on my website for sale, you know, financing's available. But then around back, where my general repair shop is, you know, I have vehicles that may be traded in, aren't drivable anymore due to customers that came in. I heard a knock in the, you know, I heard a noise, you know, that motor's no good. So I always have cars that are, let's say, in limbo, that have nothing to do with my Class 2 license. So that's, you know, I guess that's, I'm not sure if it's two issues, or if the board does approve my 40-car dealer's license, that it could just be reworded that the general repair, you know, has nothing to do with that.
I think too, there's an important distinction to be made there, because prior to Upton Truck relocating to the current location, he first acquired a ongoing pre-existing repair business. So he bought the pre-existing repair business first, and then at that time, he decided to move the Class 2 license from Main Street down to Milford Road. So there's been a history long-term of cars being repaired in accordance with the town bylaws and zoning, as well as the license that was granted. And I think since he's been operating there in 5 years, there's been no complaints from anyone. He's a very clean operator. Density is very low compared to the acreage of the property, and he's actually an owner-operator that's there. I've looked at some used cars in this town, and no one knows the pricing of vehicles on other lots, because only one person knows the pricing, and they're off hunting somewhere and can't be found. Arnie's there pretty much 6 days a week.
I will open it up to the board.
May I? Thank you. First of all, and I'm speaking only on behalf of myself, not the board, we recognize that the bylaw has some holes in it relative to cars and vehicles that are being worked on. You're addressing vehicles that are in transition from either taking ownership of or repairing, and those are in the back of the building. That being understood, there's still 30 cars back there, of which 4 are licensed. That means you've got 26 vehicles. So it's my intent at some point in the very near future that this board, and probably the planning board, and maybe the zoning board of appeals, will readdress our bylaws to address that, so that it's separate and apart from Class 2 licensing, so that one issue doesn't overlap on the other. As far as I'm concerned here, you're here tonight really to address the number of cars for sale.
Yes, sir.
And that is the intent of this Class 2 hearing. So the other issue, although it's there, I believe will be addressed. You are aware that the police department did make a visitation to you, and that they did do an inspection of your property. You were licensed for 20 vehicles. You have 23 that were for sale along the west side of the building and the street, according to the police department, with VIN numbers cited. Now, I'm not adverse to trying to help business in this town. I'll say that right up front. But, sir, when you come in asking for a license, and you have a license for 20, and you want to expand it, and you have 23, I say, okay, if we give 40, does that mean you have 48? So that raises a bell to me. And again, I don't want to deter or detract anybody from being able to earn a living based upon a business in this town. We have less than 3% of our tax revenue stream comes from commercial. So it's a very small part of our business. But that also says that the residents of this town want to keep a very residential nature too. So it's our job to monitor and to watch businesses to make sure there's compliance. So it does raise a little flag to me. If we move forward, if this board agrees to expand the number of cars for you, I would be very clear to say to you directly that there would be many inspections made periodically at random to ensure you're in compliance. And you do know that if you're not, this board has the ability to take action. So,
I'd like to ask a question, please.
Yeah.
Out of those 20,
Through the chair.
through the chair, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. On those 23 vehicles, were those all unregistered vehicles that were clearly denoted for sale, or were some of those registered vehicles?
23 unregistered vehicles, all VIN numbers were cited by the police department
And
with the description.
Then my other point would be that when he moved from Main Street location to the Milford Street location, it was an arbitrary contraction from someone who responsibly operated a 50-lot.
Well, I think you know, but I think you understand the Class 2 license stands on its own. It doesn't have history to where it was before, or who the previous owner
He's a
was.
responsible operator, and
I-
I think if you give my client a number, he'll stick to that number.
No time did I say you weren't
Right.
responsible. I just raised my issues,
Sure.
being very open and upfront about this process. So that's all I have to say.
Okay.
Just one question. All the cars listed on your website, are they on your place, or do you own multiple different places?
I don't always, like this evening, and starting yesterday, I only have 19 there.
'Cause your
So
web-
some of them are still at auction. I have two of them that are at a body shop, you know, because some of them have to do repair, and I don't do body work up there, so I have some there. But ones that are for sale to the public are typically on the property.
Yeah, because when I counted earlier today, I counted 28 on the website for sale.
Oh, the website, yep, and there's some that aren't there. You know, like one of them that's on my website, it's still in Florida, so it's not even here yet, you know? So I do put them on, they're not always here. I do have another lot in Grafton that a buddy of mine, another dealer operator, he lets me put cars on his lot. It's just a different face, you know, different site, you know? But they're not, all the ones that I have on for sale aren't always at the location.
Okay, thank you for the clarity.
And again, I agree with everything that Selectman Fleming says. I think, you know, the town of Upton needs to work on its bylaw with respect to restoring cars or repairing cars, and how many abandoned cars or unregistered cars are on a property that is scheduled for restoration or repair. I think, you know, we need to really tighten up on that, because, again, it's our job to, you know, try to make these locations as, again, you have a business to run, and we understand that. But it's also our job to try to make these businesses as presentable as possible, to make it, you know, appealing to the, you know, that the neighbors don't have an issue, and that, you know, other people don't have an issue. I was a little taken back, you know, when I read the police report and saw that there was, you know, 3 vehicles over your license, and again, nothing to do with absolutely your character or your ability to do business. I mean, again, I've heard nothing but good things about you, but again, it's basically, and I'll just say it, disrespecting our authority, when we put a number on a license, and you don't abide by that number.
I would argue, Chairman,
Yeah,
that,
let me finish, sir.
Absolutely.
All right, so, I mean, like I said, it's just, you know, it's a little disheartening for me, when we license you for 20, and then, you know, we ask the police, just, and again, as we do always, to do a random inspection when somebody comes in for an increase, and they're over their count. I just, you know, I just need to say that.
Okay. And if I may, so, just so we're all aware of it, I do share that area with, you know, I'm not the only sole business that's out of there. So if the other business that's there owns vehicles, if they're not registered, that's out of my control. And I will say that there are vehicles that I don't own, that aren't mine, that aren't tied to Upton Truck and Auto.
Yep.
So, and I know exactly the other vehicles that are on there, only because since we've spoke, and I did get, and I will, you know, back up what you said, I was reprimanded with having too many vehicles. So the last, let's say, couple weeks, you know, I've gotten rid of about 23 cars that were out back, where with the snow, you know, other organizations that take junk cars. They weren't coming because of the snow. They finally came and picked some stuff up. Vehicles that weren't mine, those were out of there, but I do share that, I'm gonna call it common area. I mean, I do, everything that I have for sale is lined up. You know, the lot always looks great. I have everything always facing out for sale. Everything that I do have for sale have, the lemon law warranties that are, you know, given to the customers. So anything that I have that is for sale, that all has that. Some vehicles that are there, they don't, but it's because they're not for sale. But they are, there are unregistered vehicles.
And with respect to ownership of the other vehicles, that is, again, an item that, you know, this board needs to tighten up on its bylaw and tighten up on that, so. Sir.
And sometimes there's a sale to an out-of-state resident, and in that case, the vehicle is already sold, so it's not really for sale. It's just sitting there waiting for transportation pickup, or for the out-of-state person to come and get the vehicle. So if it's out front, it doesn't necessarily mean it's for sale. It could have already been sold.
Again, I'm just going on what the police report said, that about 23 unregistered vehicles were displayed for sale along the west side of the building, so I'm just going on what the police report says.
And I'm saying a couple of those could have already been sold and just waiting for transportation out of state.
Any other comments on the board?
No, just for total, so you understand, you're not being isolated on this. This was not the police going to do a sole visitation to you.
Absolutely not.
This board has instructed that other dealerships in town that hold Class 2 licenses will be getting random inspections as well. It just so happens that yours tied in with this hearing, and coincidentally, it just shows that, okay, there's 3 over. I would be very clear, it depends upon where this board goes and the action we take, but if we set a number of vehicles, it would be hard for me to accept well, I'm only 3 over, I'm only 4. There's a number for a reason. And what happens is if it's 3 over, next time it's 4, then it's 5. Somebody else says, well, he had 3 over and you didn't do anything with him. So it has to be a number that's held firm. And it's about fairness to everyone. And again, we're not trying to be adversarial here. We're just trying to do what our licensing authority gives us permission to do. What's in the back of your building will be addressed at some point in the future. But right now, we're talking about vehicles for sale that are on the west side of your building, parked, and I'm assuming they all have the lemon law stickers on them, so,
Okay.
that's all.
Sir?
You brought evidence you've renewed your insurance?
I do. The only thing, because they haven't printed it out, I have the receipt that it's paid for, but I don't have, the dealer bond, the physical dealer bond itself. I was in the midst of changing it, and it took them a little bit longer. I was supposed to see it today by 3 o'clock, hoping to have it in my hand, but I have the receipt that it's paid, accepted, and that it is in play as we speak.
When was it paid?
It was paid the 29th, March 29th.
Well, it's up to the board, but I'd recommend that it not, it depends on the board what you want to do as far as approval, but I don't think it could be issued until we see the evidence.
Well,
Okay.
there's no way we'll approve anything. All our licenses are contingent upon satisfactory requirement.
Yep.
So,
Okay. And again, notices back in January were handed out to all the abutters.
Yes.
Correct at that. So at this time, I'll open it up for any public comment with respect to that before I,
Can I comment as a resident of Upton?
so,
As a resident of Upton, I feel that the permit should be granted. He's an owner-operator that will abide by, I believe, the number that is set for him to sell vehicles. I think he's the most responsible used car dealer operator in the town. I'm also a client there.
thank you. Any other comments?
no.
No, sir?
Seeing none, hearing none, I will close the Class 2 public hearing, and I would...
Mr. Chairman, if I may express my pleasure, I would like to make one more visitation to your business, preferably if you're there. I'd be glad to take the tour with you. And we meet in 2 weeks. At that time, everything is status. I'd be prepared to make motion to award licensing for vehicles, provided all the requirements are there. When did your insurance expire?
I was informed there was a grace period. It was the 27th
Okay.
was its cancellation, but they reinstated it because of it was in limbo, and it was it was just carried over to the 29th.
I just want to be comfortable before we do. And you're not, again, you're not an individual case. This board will be going forward, Class 2 licenses need to be controlled, and that's why we're doing what we're doing. So,
Understood.
Okay,
but if we could,
so the hearing has been closed, but we will,
in 2 weeks,
in 2 weeks at the next meeting, we will,
we'll take action.
we'll take
Okay.
action on your application.
Great.
Please, if I may clarify, it doesn't mean 40. I mean, you know, you asked for 40, but it could be 35, could be, depends upon what the trip looks like up there and what we see.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
Because if there's cars crowded all over the place, then that's another consideration. And shame on me, I should have been up there earlier, but I'm being honest.
And again, please, don't let, this was by no means to discuss your character or how you do business up there. Again, you know, I drive by there constantly and all that time. It's just basically abiding by the license that's given. Again, we try to hold everybody accountable with the license of what we issue, so.
Yep.
Especially when they come forward to change that license, so. We're just, you know, again, doing our job. But this will be an agenda item at our next meeting in 2 weeks.
Okay.
All right?
All righty.
Thank
I
you,
appreciate it.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
for your consideration.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Fleming, I'm just gone until the 10th, I'm leaving
Well,
tonight. And
that's
then
all right.
talk
We'll work.
next
Yep.
week.
Plenty of time.
Thank you. Thanks, Artie.
And I'll
Thank you.
get that over. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you. Okay, recognition has been completed. Manager's report, Mr. Town Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first item, I had made a recommendation to the board, or notified the board of an appointment of a part-time firefighter paramedic. I know the board has a review period.
Yep, we will be discussing that under 6.3 under applications, so we'll act on that at that time.
Fine.
Thank you.
I know the health insurance is later on the agenda. I will answer any questions or can speak to the board about that later. We've continued with the police officer interviews. Next week, we'll be going to the next round. I thought it went very well. The panel that the chief had assembled, some excellent candidates, so we're looking forward to narrowing that list down further with the next round of further interviews. We're also working with Northbridge to renew the intermunicipal agreement that we have for our conservation agent.
Yep.
It seems that both towns are very happy with that. In fact, Northbridge would like to increase the hours, so we're in further discussions, and that will be ready for renewal. That expires at the beginning of June. It should be renewed. In fact, there's been some talk about, since the satisfaction is so high with that, maybe it having a 2-year term instead of the 1-year term that it's been under.
How many hours right now does Northbridge?
Northbridge
Seek.
has 8.
Okay,
They would like to expand that, and Upton has 11.
okay.
Further information on the snow and ice deficit. Hopefully, there won't be any more impact on the snow and ice deficit, but now that figure's gone up. I think we're looking in the neighborhood of about 115,000 right now for snow and ice. We'll be discussing that further with Mr. Roy on Thursday. We have a few meetings about current business on Thursday. Also, Thursday afternoon will be a staff meeting as a follow-up to some of the business here, and we have those about on a monthly basis, so I'll be meeting with the staff. The rest of the items I have on the agenda, or we'll be talking about in executive session.
Okay, thank you. Questions?
No, sir.
Thank you. Okay, 6.1, Historical Commission. Please, come forward. We've asked the Historical Commission to come here this evening to discuss a project with respect to historical district signage. So if I could ask you to please introduce yourselves.
Gentlemen, Donna Desjardins, Historical Commission Chair,
Don Spargo.
also Commission, Historical Commission. I'll just introduce the project, and I believe you already have information.
Yep.
That in front of you, so we will be brief.
And again, I thank you for this, and and again, this is my chance to apologize to the chairman, because I actually sit on the commission, but unfortunately, I've had many meetings that have been in the way of attending the historical commission meetings. My apologies to that, but I've seen emails going back and forth with respect to proposed signage. So I thought it was very important to make sure that you come forward in front of the Board of Selectmen to discuss what I think is a pretty worthwhile project.
Thank you. Well, we're looking for the selectmen's approval and for their support for this project. It's been a process, and just briefly, just quickly what we've done. We have selected a design, and we've worked with Science Plus. We do have some, and I think, again, you have most of this there, that we do have cost involved. The CPC voted to allow us $6,000, and we have that on the warrant, for the town meeting for the town's approval, should the selectmen approve of this project as well. We've also met with the police department, with Chief Bradley, and with the DPW, and they are both very supportive. So that's how far we've come, but we have a bit to go yet. I'm going to let Don discuss some of that.
Yeah, I've been working on the state end because we'd like to get some signs that are on 140.
Yep.
So Representative Meridian, is that how you pronounce it? Yeah, so I contacted their office because the state DOT was not getting back to me. And they put me in touch with an assistant of his. Her name is Taylor McCarthy, and she's helped me a lot with this as far as finding out the correct contact with the state to get approval to put the signs up on 140. So we got the application to do that, and this was something that we were going to work with them on completing. I asked some time frame on that to get the approval to put the signs on 140, and he said that it could be, his quote was a matter of weeks, which I was like surprised it would be that short a period of time. So that's where we are with trying to get them on 140, and if we can't, then there's secondary spots we want to do in the town.
We have a backup plan.
Yeah.
If we absolutely can't get them on 140, then we do have
Yes.
4 other sites.
4 others.
Select.
Do you want to
Yes,
And that
I'd actually like the color ones, because I would like to show it to the camera with respect to the historical district that we have. In fact,
And that's,
the signs?
yeah, if I could have a picture of the color signs
It's
also.
like a darker green.
Oh, there they go.
and thanks to Don picked this up. It
So-
should not be historical, it should be
It's going to be
historic.
historic.
Hey Glenn, can you just zoom in on the, so how many signs are you proposing to install? 2?
If
I know
140,
you
there'd be 2
identified-
on 140, one at either end of the district, and then 4 others, and I think, Donna, can read that off, or I can, where possible, we're saying possible placement because it's really up to the police chief. That we'll be working with him on this because we have to take site and everything else into
Did you zoom in on that?
consideration.
Oh, you did, okay. We couldn't see it,
Okay.
so, okay.
There'd be one on, or possible, I'll say that again, possible site placements. One on Pleasant Street that is where
Close to place.
Warren Road,
Yep,
had to remember that. One at the end of, on North Main Street, down close to, I think, where River Street is. And then on School Street, and here, I've got this written down, which is much better than
vicinity church,
the map.
vicinity church, no, we actually have
Oh,
locations, I
thank
know.
you, all
No,
right.
the reason why I'm asking is that you had said that you were gonna install a couple on 140, but then you had a backup plan. So I didn't know if your plan was to do all 6, or that you were looking to do just the 2 on 140. But for some reason, if those 2 you couldn't get approval for, that you'd put them in the other locations
you.
identified. But again, your intent was to install potentially 6 signs in different locations,
Well,
right?
6, it depends on the final, how much it's going to cost.
Yes.
Okay.
6,000 was approved by the CPC, and that's what we'll be taking to the town floor. If it's, 2, one on each, on 140, and then 2 others, that's good.
Yeah.
I mean, the idea is to really point out, yes, we have a historical district in Upton, and these are, some of the boundaries.
And again, these are very, I think, well done. I think Karen did a great job with Science Plus, and the size of these are basically 24 inches by 30 inches. So I think that, again, they're done very well and very classy. So,
The code was the first visit that we made to Pat Roach, and he, understands there's a lot coming after that, but he didn't have any problem with with the size or, then a few things we've learned, that all the posts have to be breakaway.
Yeah, they have to be breakaway, the posts.
All the posts have to be breakaway, so,
That the state told me that.
interesting.
and the town.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
If you
right?
think about it,
Yeah.
makes sense, so. All right, with that said, I'll open it up to the board.
I think they're nice-looking signs. I personally support it, and I see you guys are, we ran into some other issues with signs, but I see you guys are going through the proper permits and following the bylaws, so
Mhm.
shouldn't be any problems.
Thank you.
Real easy to say yes to, you've done all your homework, and good luck with this Commonwealth DOT. No, I mean, really, I mean that in a positive way,
Yeah.
so.
A
yeah.
matter of weeks. I couldn't, really? It's not months? At least.
For years.
Right.
DOT has been very good to Upton, I'll show you something in a few minutes.
Okay.
But no, this is, again, very worthwhile, again, just identifying, where the historical district is, so I am, absolutely a proponent of this, so I thank you for your presentation, I think for your hard work, so.
Mr. Chairman, I would motion that the board approve the sign placement as proposed this evening, subject to the conditional changes based upon DOT and other factors, and approval at town meeting.
Second.
Please show that as unanimous action of the board. Thank you.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, while you're here, and Glenn, you really want to shoot in on this one. Our friends at DOT awarded this to the town of Upton. It's a certificate of funding in the, stating $500,000 that we received for small bridge grant. And I had the pleasure of going to the State House with our DPW director last week and receiving this award. $500,000 to the town of Upton is a substantial amount of money, and this will be going to repair the bridge on Fowler Street. And for us to do that alone, obviously, that's a big expense. And DOT made a commitment at that meeting with Lieutenant Governor Polito and Secretary Pollock that they are making a commitment to small cities and towns to help alleviate costs of things like dams, roads, and bridges. So kudos to them. So I think you'll find them responsive to you. They have a new mission out there, and it's much appreciated. So, thanks, Glenn.
Just another moment of your time to, just the boards that we've met with, the people that we've met with have been extremely helpful, extremely professional. I think the town needs to give itself a pat on the back for, the kind of people that we have working with us.
That's nice to hear.
Thank you.
Very
That
nice to hear.
does include us, right? Okay, just check, I just want to make
Excuse me,
sure.
I think she said some of you.
I just want to make sure that included us
Us
after tonight, that's all.
She said some of you. Nice to see you. Thank you.
Don, thank you very much. All right, so under 6.2, we have motions to approve merit bonuses as recommended by the Personnel Board. Gentlemen, in front of you, included in your package, is a letter dated March 24th, 2017, from the Personnel Board Chairman recommending 6 meritorious bonuses. Deb, would you like to come up and speak on behalf of this, or? No. Okay. Okay.
We had a lot of good candidates this year.
Great, thank you. So, with that said, I'll open up to the board for comments.
I have no action but to approve.
Same here.
Entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I would motion that the board accept with gratitude the recommendations of the Personnel Board on the Personnel Bylaws, Section 6B, to award the following meritorious awards to Nicole Clare, Children's Librarian, $1,000, Diane Judd, Department Coordinator, $900, John Solon, Van Driver, $250, Jessica Morrow, Social Service Coordinator, $1,000, Bernadette Denson, Social Services Department Specialist, $500, and Patricia Parent, Town Nurse, $500. Congratulations to all those. They were well-deserved, and I know there is a screening process to go through this, so well-earned, well-deserved.
I'll second the motion.
Please show that as unanimous action of the board. Thank you, Deb, thank you to your board. Okay, 6.3, 6.3.1, we have, I believe it is 3 letters of resignation that we need to act on this evening. One is from Jane Geithner with respect to the Personnel Board, and the other is from Mrs. Eva Fowler with respect to the Register of Voters. And last is, that we just received this evening, is
Nick Palmer.
yeah, Nick Palmieri, police officer, who will be relocating to another town for his services. So, with that said, I would open it up for the board for any discussion.
No, it is with regret. We hate to
Absolutely.
lose volunteers and people that serve the community, and they all have rationale. As example, Ms. Skinder is moving out of state, and Officer Palmieri has received another position, another town, his hometown, which makes sense, so.
Gentlemen, I'll entertain a motion.
One motion, or you want 3 individual motions?
We
Is
can
there 3
co-
different boards,
We
you know?
can, why don't we do 3 different motions?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we accept Detective Nick Palmieri's resignation from the Upton Police Department.
Second that motion.
Please show us unanimous action of the board.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we accept Jane Geithner's resignation from the Personnel Board
I'll second
and
that.
Board of Registers.
Second that, sorry.
Please show us unanimous action of the board.
And, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we accept Eva Fowler's resignation from the Board of Registers.
I'll second that.
Please show us unanimous action of the board and thank them all for their services and volunteerism on these boards. Again, with regret, we accept their resignation, but thank you all. And Nick, good luck in your new position, and be safe. Okay, so, 6.3.2, we have, I believe, 4 applications for positions, open positions in town. We have 3 for the town manager screening committee, and we have 1 with respect to a per diem firefighter paramedic. So, gentlemen, you have the applications in front of you. Any discussions or comments?
No, sir.
No?
All right,
Screen?
seeing none, hearing none, I want to entertain a motion.
I'll do the first one. Mr. Chairman, for the screening committee, I would like to nominate, appoint the following persons: Craig Preston, James Langen, and Beth Lacrosse to serve until such time as a town manager is appointed,
Second?
Please show that as unanimous action of the board.
and thank them for their volunteerism.
Yes, thank you very much.
Good for the next one? Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we appoint Charles D. Cross as a part-time firefighter medic to the town of Upton and waive the 15-day waiting period.
I'll second that.
Please show that as unanimous action of the board. And I would remind Beth and Jim and Craig to please, at some time, go down to the town clerk's office to be sworn in. So,
I'll email them to you.
email, okay, very good. Thank you, and thank you for your volunteerism and stepping up.
And just as transparency, the town manager and the fire chief had screened the applicant for the paramedic position, yes.
Yes.
Approved by, recommended by, yeah, thanks.
Okay.
Just,
Okay, in front of us on the 6.4, we have a memo in front of us that was sent to Bob Reed from Vinnie Roy, Director of Public Works, dated March 30th, 2017, with his recommendation to award a contract, I know it's on here somewhere. Bless you. To Kenflick, I don't know how to say it right, Kenflick Corporation of Quincy, Mass., which was the low bidder on the Fisk Mill Bridge project, which falls under Mass General Law, Chapter 39M, when it comes to procurement. This is a bridge on Fisk Mill Road that is basically shared by both Milford and Upton, and these funds were appropriated at the fall town meeting to move forward with these repairs. So the memo is in front of us, gentlemen. I would ask, or actually before I turn it over to the board, Bob, any comments on this at all?
Only that I'd recommend it, and I've seen the emails that have, I wasn't at the bid opening, but I've seen the emails go back and forth, and, you know, both towns are approving this, or I should say the DPWs are approving it and considered the bid responsive and appropriate.
So for clarification, Upton's $209,798 is based upon the covering additional costs, is that what he's asking? He states here that allowing for a 20% increase to the quantity amount because of supplemental work, the Attorney General allowed it as permissible. So he's got $209,798 as correct?
And I would recommend his recommended amount.
Yeah, just, yeah, because I know you validated this, but just to be sure.
Okay. Gary, any comment?
Not on this, I'll comment after we make the motion.
I only have one thing to say, it's a long way from where it started as a number. It's a lot less.
Yes,
Thank you,
because
thank
didn't
you.
this number was pushing a
800,
million? It was pushing
yeah.
a million.
Right,
So I think with due diligence and we are, it's unclear if that this construction cost was gonna include a plaque. I was gonna say that this was gonna be the Bob Fleming Bridge, but I was unclear on that.
if they
but-
put a plaque on it, it'll be under the bridge. So you
Anyway.
won't see it anyway.
Anyway,
So,
if there's no other, any discussion,
Just after something,
Okay.
not to do with the bridge.
okay, so I would entertain a motion for.
Chairman, the motion that the board authorize the town manager to go enter into contract with the firm of Kennefic Corp. of Quincy, Mass. in the amount of $209,798 for reconstruction of the Fisk Mill Bridge.
I'll second that motion.
Please show that as unanimous action of the board. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
while we're on this subject, I talked to some town residents the other day, and they're worried about the way that traffic's gonna be detoured. And they were wondering if we could just make sure, like, all the streets have stop signs and all that. That would be,
Traffic flow.
Valid
Yeah.
point,
Yep,
well
excellent.
stated.
Traffic flow for construction, very, very important. Not that that's a busy street.
Well,
I guess it is.
And Milford's got its share because of their side too, yeah.
Okay. Under 6.5, discussion on health plan renewal options. Mr. Town Manager, I turn it over to you, please.
We are coming to the, the renewal period. We are coming to the end of a 2-year rate hold on our dental insurance. I'll start with that first. We had looked at renewing with the present carrier and also renewing the plan under Maya. The Maya plan was comparable, identical, actually, in benefits and a substantial decrease in rates for renewal to the point where we would be able to increase from the present $1,500 cap per year to $2,000 with only a 1% increase in the rates as opposed to what was gonna be a 9% increase under our present carrier. So we've had 2 meetings with our employee group, one was today. So we're moving forward with, that's their recommendation to go forward with the dental insurance. I don't know if you have this page from Maya, which is a breakdown of the benefits under our present plan and the renewal. I had also asked them to present 2 options to see about bringing the rates down from an 8.2% increase. One of the options includes the last option, which is alternative 2 up top, significant increases in deductibles. I had spoken with the group about what's known as a health reimbursement account, which would set money aside from the savings, down 75% savings, to pay those deductibles. The board doesn't have to make a decision tonight. We still have some questions about this from the group meeting today, but wanted to brief the board. Also, I'll be notifying the collective bargaining units about, with the board's acquiescence, the intent to change this plan to alternative 2 and also offer the HRA, which even though we're offering it, still needs to be potentially bargained. So we're moving forward with that and hope to have a final recommendation for your next meeting for a May 1st renewal.
In conversations I have with you, Bob, correct me if I'm wrong, there is certain enhancements with respect to the employee, that there's certain benefits with respect to the employee that they would get with this, has also potential savings to the town. So, I mean, this is, I think, has the potential of being a win-win.
Yeah, the town also presently offers a flexible, it's known as a flexible spending account, but at the earlier meeting that we had, actually it was Chief Bradley who brought up the health reimbursement account. And as we discussed that more and with our Maya representative, it really seemed to make sense. And I think that the biggest difference with alternative two, as you can see, would be the addition of the deductibles, and those are one-time payments, meaning that's the cap for the year. And the health reimbursement account would really absorb that for the employees, and hopefully make it kind of a seamless transition for the employees. They wouldn't have to deal with paperwork, the deductibles would be capped and paid for out of the HRA. So yeah, certainly the employees would save on their 25%, and I think the town would also save money. I know the town would also save money based on what Maya said is typical utilization of an HRA. So the town would save money on it 75% as well. And would bring our, you know, the renewal rates down from 8.2% down to 4.3%. So I think that would be, you know, hopefully something that would benefit all parties, the town and the employees.
Great job. Comments?
Not right now.
No, the plan makes sense.
Okay.
But
So
obviously more work
we'll be
to-
following
More to come.
through. We had some answers to the employees' questions at the meeting today. We have another meeting next week,
Yes.
and so I think we'll come to some resolution at that meeting, and whether we have agreement to go forward with the alternative two or a different plan, a straight renewal.
Okay, thank you. Item 6.6, review the draft of the May 4th, 2017 annual town meeting warrant. Again, we don't need to, it's just a review of the current draft. We don't really need to take action on it this evening, but we do need to take action on it at our next meeting to approve it. So for tonight, we are just discussing the warrant in current draft form. Before I turn it over to the board, Bob, any comments you'd like to make on this?
Well, we just made a change tonight, after hearing the presentation from the Historical Commission. We had Article 14, which was money from the Community Preservation Reserve account for up to 3 signs. And this is the time of year when everything is always changing, and I think they mentioned 5 signs to, with the board's,
I think they mentioned 6 signs, actually.
did they mention 6? Well,
It could have, I think it's all, again, the way I understood it was, it's all gonna be,
Subject to.
subject to the cost of the sign, but, you know, they're basically,
right.
they give us $6,000 for whatever they can buy for the $6,000, but it could be up to 6 signs.
I can get back in touch with them again, but the language that we discussed and the change that we discussed was up to 5.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll get back in touch with them
Okay,
again, but
perfect.
that's just a minor
Do we
change.
even need a number for signs? The number of signs? Can it just be blank?
Well, it did say 3.
Yeah.
So I just wanted
Could
to.
change it, generic signage, you need it.
I
Well,
thought
whatever.
that, depending on the board's action tonight, I mean, I consider this pretty much a final draft,
Yep.
pending the board's action and what you may want to leave on, what you may want to take off, and if you want to change the order. And I've talked to Lauren Goldberg at K&P, and she's ready to do this a final review. There are a couple of changes since the joint meeting that you had with the Finance Committee last week that I could point out.
Yep,
Primarily, the revolving fund article, which is Article 7.
Excuse me, Paul, you should probably also note that none of the recommendations by the Finance Committee
Right.
are true.
Right, the
Those are just
recommendations.
Placeholder, those are just a copy and paste.
Yeah, Paul Flaherty mentioned that at the meeting. I told him I was just saving time.
Right, so
Right,
it's,
so,
none
again,
of the recommendations
I believe
are-
that.
They haven't acted
that's
on it yet. They meet Thursday, maybe they might be acting on it then.
Okay, so Article 7, Bob?
Under the Municipal Modernization Act, it was recommended that instead of having the continual renewal of revolving funds, and you may remember there was an article that had all of them, listed,
Mhm.
that towns would go forward and deal with revolving funds as a bylaw. There had been some concern, and you may have seen the guideline release that came out from DOR, where Department of Revenue was looking at pushing that requirement off to fiscal 19. I think part of the issue was that, depending on when you had your bylaw approved, you may not get approval for your revolving funds until August. Sometimes they're right up to the 90 days that the Attorney General has in approving bylaws, and of course, they're swamped this time of year. K&P has come up with language that does both. It renews it, and it also establishes the bylaw. And so what's here is the language for the renewal, and then the additional language on pages 4 and 5 for a bylaw addition to handle revolving funds as the bylaw changes recommended under the Municipal Modernization Act.
Makes sense.
Yep.
Got it.
So that deals with both. And then, of course, in Article 8, which is the tax title revolving fund, that's under Chapter 60, so that wouldn't come under the Modernization Act, which only included revolving funds under Chapter 44, 53, E and a
Right,
half.
that's a different master law,
Yep.
that's why it's
So
separate.
that's why that
it's
was
separate.
broken out.
And Bob, you and I spoke under Article 9, you will be getting the linear footage.
Yes, right, I think Mr. Roy did give that to me, I just need to plug that in.
Okay. Gentlemen, I open it up to conversation. Bob?
Gary?
No. I was just going through some of these articles, and I was wondering what article I have. So it's Article 24 now, about the substance abuse. If we could pay for out of one of the funds, one of the trust
Welfare-
funds, one of the welfare funds. I think we made a motion earlier in the year to pay for that.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I would ask if the board's in agreement, if the town manager could check with council to see if the welfare trust that is for the needy and comfort of the citizens of the town would qualify for that. And it would make sense because the balance in that account is substantial. And if we could use those funds, it would make sense rather than raise and appropriate.
And
a good
again-
point.
And again, if I don't see Article 24, if that doesn't abide by the welfare trust, I don't know what does.
Yeah, well, I
Yeah.
would think, yes, but never say never.
Yep, no, I agree, but, no, it's great, great catch, Gary, great comment. Anything else?
No, the rest is just dollar figures, trying to get the exact names.
All right. Selectman Fleming, you will, if I can ask at some time
115,
before the town
150.
meeting, you'll work with Bob with respect to
For the
article
snow.
assignments as far
Oh,
as
yeah.
who will read.
Yep,
If you
will do.
that,
correct.
you will work with him on that one.
Mhm.
So a couple small little changes we need to make, and we will discuss it further at our next meeting and vote to approve.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you very much. So that's all we have under discussion items, under new business. Anybody have anything under new business?
No, sir.
Yes.
Well, actually, Mr. Chairman, it's revisiting old business. Last week, we had some citizens come in that had initiated the petition on the Town Manager Act, and I'd like to do some follow-up on that. One of the things that was discussed was the potential, and at least I'm speaking for myself, as a proponent of forming a committee and assigning people to do a more in-depth evaluation of that act and come back to the voters for a revision, if deemed necessary, subject to the terms and the findings of the committee. I think that makes sense. Also, if I add, we had spoke about possibly having a workshop, and I would open up the invitation if they're still interested in that. Maybe contact the town manager and we could try and schedule a time. I understand they have a desire to make some changes or to look at changes to Town Manager Act, and I don't want to be not participate or not work with them on this. I was pretty clear, and I still feel that way, that something of this magnitude needs to go through a more in-depth study and needs to have a committee to really dig in, and probably representation of people that have a good knowledge of town government and how it works to participate within that. And certainly the board would be objective and stand back to it. But, and again, if they want to meet as a workshop or, I mean, we can't make decisions there, but we could certainly express opinion and,
I do know that
Give
they had,
information.
again, speaking of the town manager, I do know that they had a good conversation.
We had a good meeting.
okay.
That the petitioners and the town manager met and had a good meeting
Oh, good,
uh,
okay,
with respect to that, so.
all right.
Comments, Gary?
I have to agree, and I think this is a step in the right direction. I might solve a lot of the problems with the last two warrants by doing some type of committee or something.
Okay.
Yep, and again, I have no problem in forming a town manager act review committee, with respect to seeking changes within the current town manager act. Again, looking, and I'm just gonna say what's in the best interest of the town of Upton. That's what we're all trying to do, so I am amenable to that also. So, thank you. Anything else?
Yes, sir. As to the public's information, the Board of Selectmen were invited to the Men's Club meeting one night, and there was a lot of dialogue, and we gained a tremendous amount of insight as to what the Men's Club does, and I think they really gained a lot of insight into what we do. It was a pretty open forum. But one of the things that came up, the Men's Club strives to provide value to the town of Upton, and one thing, they sponsor the fireworks, and they had a situation last year, due to their limited funds, they're struggling to find a way to finance a better sound system. I guess last year there was a child that was lost, and as much as they screamed over the PA system, people couldn't hear them. And no one wants any situation that would endanger the public or anything similar to that to happen and not be able to have the communication. So to assist them with the funding, I'd like to ask this board's consideration if we would appropriate money from the William Knowlton Trust to assist them. It definitely is a benefit to the community and certainly better helps them serve in providing fireworks in the venue they do that day, so.
I'll support that.
And again, I was there last year, and I've been there, I think, every year that they've had it there, and to see the volume of people there and the true family atmosphere, and I was part of searching for that child. We were running around looking for, a certain person, and as much as they tried to make the announcements over the band's PA, it just didn't resonate throughout the whole area where it had to, so, again,
And I know a couple years ago they had a weather issue too.
a couple of years
Yeah.
ago, we had a weather issue which we need to communicate to
Yeah.
the whole, all the spectators there too,
Yeah.
so again, I think this is a very valuable asset, so I would absolutely agree with that.
No, I know what they asked for, but I'm going higher because I think they deserve it. Mr. Chairman, I would ask that the board authorize the appropriation of $6,000 from the William Knowlton Trust Fund to be used at the discretion of the Men's Club to be applied to the annual fireworks sound system.
Second.
We show that as unanimous action of the board, and thank you. And again, just to reiterate with the fireworks, this is, people think that this is a town-sponsored event. This is not a town-sponsored event. This is done with volunteers, volunteer money. So, when they ask for the donation at the gate, or when they send the letter out to donate to the fund, that's all they're working on, which funds this whole fireworks. This is not a town-sponsored event. So there is some misconception with respect to, how the fireworks are put on, but it is solely done by the Men's Club through donations and volunteers. So we thank them. If anybody's been part of it, it is outstanding, and it's just getting bigger and bigger, so thank you. All right, with that said, before we go into executive session, I would open it up to anything, have I missed anything?
No?
Mrs. Town Manager, have I missed anything? Gary?
No, sir.
Okay, I would open up to the public.
Guy in the back doesn't want to say?
No. Okay, hearing none, seeing none, we will go into our first executive session. As I said earlier, we have two executive sessions this evening. The first one, I motion that the board goes into an executive session in the Mass General Law, Chapter 3214, Section 1B, and Mass General Law, Chapter 4, Section 7, Clause 220-26C, to discuss financial assistance to a resident in need. Jim Brochu, aye.
Gary Darty, aye.
Robert Fleming, aye.
All right, we are in executive session.